So I have this scythe just sitting in the corner of my room doing nothing, so I figured I'd customize it. I'm gonna make it look like Jevil Scythe from Deltarune. So I first have to sketch out the blade that goes on the back of it. I cut this out of foam, but pretend I'm cutting it out of cardboard. I end up using cardboard anyway. Oh, by the way, I got this scythe from Spirit Halloween last year for $8, so pretty cheap and pretty easy to get one. Before I stick that on, I first have to modify the blade a little bit, such as getting rid of this little point here. I just cut it off and then hot glue the rest of it closed. To fill in that gap and also other gaps that are in the blade, I use foam clay since it's light. And I didn't really blend well, like at all. I didn't blend at all. You're gonna see that later. I don't really work with foam clay all that often. This is actually the second project I'm using it on, so it does feel very strange to work with. I'm just used to working with air dry clay, or regular air dry clay. This is also air dry, which is a good perk of using it. Once all the foam clay is dry, I sand it down and then also sand down the rest of the scythe so I can get ready to paint it. But I'm not painting it quite yet. I have to make these two little balls that go on each end of the blade. I just sculpt it out of foam clay and get the impression of the point on into it before leaving it to dry. And this is glowing against my black table. Once it's dry, I hot glue it into place. I also cut these 3 points out of some regular foam and then just glue that on here. There was like a raised part where the point was, so I figured it would be best to kind of disguise it. Also, if I were to do this again, I would not use hot glue because it does not blend out into plastic. I do use hot glue to glue this part on, and it does work pretty well. Here you can see I'm sanding down the handle. I did get kinda lazy and didn't sand the entire thing, but I did sand the top of it. And here we get to what I was saying earlier. The foam is way too weak. Even when I tried to strengthen it with popsicle sticks, don't quite know what was going on there, and so I just replaced it with some cardboard. Once that's in place and the glue cools, I can finally get to painting it. I first put down a base coat of white since the colors of especially the handle are quite light, so it would take about 1,000,000 coats to cover up things like black and gray. Speaking of the handle, I want to start with that first. So I get a new angle first of all, and then start painting it green. This was probably the worst part of the project since it was so tedious and annoying, and I had to keep spinning the scythe around and moving it around my head because, you know, curved blade. But yeah, I was glad when this is all over with. Once all the green is on, I then start on the bluish purple color. And once that's done, I seal it in before moving on to the next step, which is to paint the back blade black. I then paint it with metallic black. I don't quite know if I like this though. I think I do prefer the regular black over it. Once that dried and I sealed it in, I then moved on to the regular blade with a metallic silver. I should have done a base coat of gray so that this would have been easier. It takes a lot of coats to finally build up the silver, but I do, eventually. Then I paint the last little white bits yellow, seal those in, and the scythe is done. This was a pretty quick project, but it's something I've been wanting to do for a while, and I wanted to get it out before Halloween. See ya!